And we're back for another Gab with Abigail. If you're back and this is your first time on my channel, hi, welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and Duggars and other D-list fundies. We have not talked about a D-list fundie in a minute, so I am so excited to be filming this video. Honestly, this is like the third time I'm filming it because just mic issues constantly. Like, that is the theme of this channel, so if you're new here, just be prepared. Yeah, so it's been a while since we've caught up with the Rodrigues family. I am actually going to do this in two parts. What I want to talk about with what's going on with the Rodrigues, specifically Jill. So this video is almost like a context. Like, you have to kind of know like what's been going on. Let's do a little catch up, little chitty chat about that before we do the next week's video. I also did say I would like kind of talk a little bit about like where I've been in this video. I haven't been posting as much. And so, yeah, if you don't want to listen to that, perfectly fine, respect it. I mean, if it's your first time here, you don't need to get my trauma dump. So if you want to skip ahead to this part of the video to get it started, go ahead and do that, baby. But, so I really haven't been posting in the last couple of months just because I guess, been like really depressed, and I don't think I realized it. I started therapy recently, and like when they were doing the intake thing, one of the questions that they asked was like, are you feeling like uninterested in things that you were once like interested in? And I didn't say yes, but I kind of feel like the fact that it took me, I haven't had the energy to do this. And like, I've been sleeping all the time on the weekends. And like, even if I want to film, even if I have an idea, I just haven't been able to like muster up the energy. And I kind of just chalk that up to being tired from like work and stuff like that, and like not getting enough sleep, which definitely those are all things that could be contributing factors. There was a period back in like, I want to say January into February where I like was not really sleeping. I've just felt like I have like this phrase where I say I'm stressy and depressy, and that's just how I've been feeling for like the last 6 months. I've kind of struggled with depression for a long time in my life, like I would say really bad since like 17, and just kind of comes and goes, and sometimes it's more manageable than other times. And just this year recently really felt it, and I don't know why. Like, sometimes it's just really bad. Like, I feel like young people say like, oh, you know, working out really helps your mental health every day. I've done that for like the last 12 weeks, been mostly working out every day and going on long walks, and my mental health doesn't feel better. That's where I've been. I don't want to say I feel, like I said, I don't want to say I feel better. And I also just kind of feel like I've been having an identity crisis, or a crisis of identity. And it's just really just been like a lot for me emotionally. And like, I also want to say thank you guys so much though for all of your comments when I do post, like just saying, you know, oh, so happy you're back, and love these videos. Like, it really does mean a lot to me. It does also sometimes make me feel guilty. Like, when you're in the trenches of like feeling depressed, it's really hard to accept love and care from other people because you feel like they like you more than you like yourself in a way. And, you know, people are saying these positive things about you that you just are struggling to feel. And it's like this double dynamic of like, this is a reason to keep going. And at the same time, it's like, oh, I like, this just makes me feel so bad about how I feel about myself. That's where I've been. Not to laugh, but yeah. So thank you guys. Let's get into this video. Okay, I think I might have already talked about this, but you know what? I'm going to keep talking about it because I feel like I didn't. And that is Kaylee's wedding.
God designed marriage as a heterosexual union. One man and one woman.
Which happened in November of last year. Oh my goodness. Kaylee's wedding was like 10 times nicer than Nuri's wedding. Like, where was this budget from? Okay. Like, it was such a nice wedding. Wedding dress was nicer. The venue was nicer. The theme was cuter. Like, I love that she got her dream wedding as a barn. I feel like Nuri just was getting married. No offense. I loved Nuri's wedding colors. Like, no shade, but there was a bit of modernism class to Kaylee's wedding that the other girlies didn't do. And by girlies, I am talking about just Nuri. No shade. It was really like a nice wedding. The wedding photos were better as well. Like, it was like okay, class. Like, Jill, I think what was so surprising about it to me is that like Nuri is the favorite daughter, is Jill's favorite child. Like, but no, literally, like, Nuri is so obviously their mother's favorite that I was just so surprised that Kaylee got this wedding that was just so much nicer than Nuri's. And you guys already know what I've said about Jonathan in comparison to Nathan. You know, it's a little bit, I was like, okay, wow. Looking at these pictures of Jonathan and like Kaylee and how he's looking at Kaylee, you guys know I love romance. I love love. Like, I love love. I love the idea of it. Like, just this picture, he looks so in love with her. I love it. And then there have been like other little like glimpses and clues where you can see like very genuinely, like, it's not just an arranged situation where and then, you know, like, you guys are making things work because you've entered the courtship phase. Like, he really loves this girl. And I love that. I love that. Like, he looks so in love with her. I love it. I love it for them. And I wonder if his parents helped to pay for the wedding, and that's why it was so much nicer. Nuri was there, like 20 months pregnant. Shout out to her. Yeah, I hate that Jonathan wore white at the wedding. That's probably my only gripe. The white was kind of crazy. It was a bit much, but you know what? It worked, I guess. I was not expecting him to wear white at the wedding. Like, are you the bride? No, I'm just kidding. That's rude. But I wasn't expecting him to wear white. They went to South Dakota for their honeymoon, and I thought that was so interesting. Like, who goes to South Dakota? What a unique choice of things to do. Like, in terms of, like, obviously these aren't people who I would think would like pay to go on to the Bahamas or something, but like in all of the places that you could go in the big ass US of A, South Dakota. Huh. I wonder if it was like a gift to them from somebody. Like, what prompted them to plan to go to South Dakota? That's such an interesting thing. And they went to go see like Mount Rushmore. I forget that's where Mount Rushmore is all the time. How American, how Christian nationalist. It was a nice, fundy honeymoon. Now, Jonathan actually bought a house before him and Kaylee got married, which I just think is so insane. And here's why. Insane in the sense of like, do you guys remember the first place where he was living when he first moved out there so that he could like be more serious in a courtship with Kaylee? And like Jill was talking about how they like fixed it up to make him more cozy. First of all, I want to know how much he was paying in rent there. Two, I want to know what job he got, because I don't think he's college educated, and that's no shade, because obviously there's plenty of people who can vouch for making good money without having a college degree. But the fact that he was able to move out there and within a year save up enough money to put a down payment on a house, maybe even buy outright. You know how funnies feel about debt. First of all, what is the cost of a house in Amish country, Ohio? If I ever make it big on this YouTube channel, that's the first thing I'm doing is moving out to Amish country, Ohio, because clearly, all right, because their house is it's a tiny little starter home and it's adorable. It's so cute. I'm really a classic, like, colonial kind of girl. I'm not really into modern. If you saw my apartment, you would know. I'm what is it? I like historic charm, just a little bit. Like, it has to be like a nice line of like historic charm. But where am I going with this? Yeah, they bought a new house. But it is a really cute house. I just feel like they should have left more of it yellow because it's such a small, and like beige and like creams, because it's such a small house, to make it look bigger and brighter. But I mean, it's paint. It's a starter home, so they definitely have things that will be able to do in the future. There's room to redecorate. We saw the iterations of that Aaron's little tiny Tennessee cottage went through with 5 children. So I'm rooting for you, Kaylee and Jonathan, for sure. Nuri had her second baby, who like almost like immediately after Kaylee's wedding, like literally she was probably having Braxton Hicks at Kaylee's wedding. And they named the baby Newman Christian, which I think some people hate. It is culty for sure. We know where it would tear per my last video. And my thing is I don't know, I kind of like Newman. You don't hear that anymore. And I kind of like when you have a name that you just don't hear anymore, like a name like Joan. I do kind of like the meaning, like, as a culty Christian nickname, like, because when you become a Christian, you become a new man, like Newman Christian. I'm sorry, don't hate me. I don't hate it. I think it's kind of cute. And I like that they're doing an N theme because they're Nuri and Nathan. And so they're Nehemiah and Newman. I just read that. They also sold their first house and are now living in a house provided by the church, which churches often do. Like if you're a pastor, I think they'll give you like a house and a place to live. So, release, and they're paying you, they normally pay you, or if you have a side job, so you're getting to save all this money by not paying for a house. So, you know what? Go ahead, Nuri. I want to see you come into your financial blessing. I'm hoping it for you, okay? I want to see you in taking the family out shopping, taking them out to nice dinners. I know they already do that kind of stuff when they come and visit, but I really want to see the prosperity gospel play out without the prosperity gospel. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm not saying I want to see you in a private jet, but I want to see you shopping at, God, all the stores suck. It's where I want to see you shopping at ASOS, babe. That's what I want to see for you, okay? You don't gotta wear pants. You can get a nice maxi skirt from ASOS, okay? That's what I want to see. Moving on. So, right before Christmas, and basically a month after their wedding, Kaylee and Jonathan announced to the family that they were expecting. She's due August the 28th. At this point, they have done the gender reveal, so they know it's a boy. She really wanted a little girl, so I do kind of feel sad for her that she didn't get a little girl. I think the whole family thought she would. I thought she would too, but it looks like it is on a grandson train, which is funny because in the Rodrigues family, they have the 9 girls and 4 boys, so it's interesting that there has been a trend of grandsons. So at the time that this is being edited, Kaylee did actually go into preterm labor at 32 weeks. The baby, who they named Gideon, which I think is just so funny because I just did a whole video saying how much I love the name Gideon, but that's neither here nor there. Baby is doing well, is in the NICU, and has been since he was born on July 5th, which is actually also Kaylee's birthday. And again, he seems to be doing well. They have him in there because, babies are born that early. Their lungs aren't fully developed. And just many, prayers and blessings that he's doing well, but also for like Kaylee's mental health and obviously her physical recovery. It can't be easy, postpartum to not get to go home with your baby. And so just wishing her all the best as she's walking through that. Obviously, she has a great, really loving support system around her for that. So, I know she's covered in that area, but also it's always good to know that people are praying for you and wishing the best for you. So just really hoping that she gets to take her baby home soon. Now, also for Christmas, which was just so freaking funny, Jill got a book about boundaries and how to have them. No, I'm kidding. Like, I think it's like about, boundaries, how to have them, how to establish them, or just about boundaries in general. And I think she interpreted this book gift as like somebody trying to tell her, oh, you take on too much, mama. You do too much. You're always so giving of yourself to others, and you need to learn how to set up boundaries. And I do really think Jill struggles to read her room. So it probably was also a gift to help her understand that you need to respect other boundaries with people. Even if they don't even necessarily establish them out loud to you, you need to learn how to have, like, that people have boundaries, right? Just the absence of a no doesn't mean go ahead. Then in the new year, Jill posted a video of like all the food that they had. I always have to bring up this kinds of stuff because of the feed your kid Jill. Look like a big spread. Kudos to her. Plexus is clearly paying up. Now, in late January, I feel like this is really the tea, and we're going to expound upon this tea later, but in late January, Ginger posted the announcement for her book, Free Indeed, Finding My Faith from Releasing My Faith from Fear. And Jill left her a comment basically saying, oh my God, you need to have the fear of the Lord. Or walk back to the fear of the Lord, blah, blah, blah. First of all, the comment, it was just shocking in general that Jill would be so bold as to comment on a Duggar post. I don't think we have ever seen her do this. But that's how strongly she felt that she needed to. And it's been building up to this because she has been subtly shading the Duggars, the Bates, and people who have, walked away from fundamentalism and legalism and have been criticizing it. Like, she has subtly been shading them. But to see her actually interact with one of their posts was like, oh, okay. From being good friends with Michelle Duggar saying this. Okay, girl. Miss, I'm not self-righteous. I'm just doing what's right. Okay. And also what was like crazy about her commenting the way she did is that it implies like almost, did you not listen to what she said in the video? Did you not carefully read the caption? And because what a weird response, because Ginger kind of emphasizes that it's not necessarily like removing a fear of God, but like kind of a fear of, well, I guess yes, but I don't know. I feel like Ginger makes it really clear in the video and in the caption that she's not saying that she no longer has like the Christian fear of the Lord in the sense. But at the same time, it makes sense that Jill wouldn't understand that because there is no separation of this like cowering, terrifying fear of God for her probably, right? She's still really deep in fundamentalism. Her kids are getting baptized at age 5 because they're, terrified of stories of hell and stuff like that. Blah, blah, blah. But it was just so crazy. And honestly, I feel like since that post, and there might have been a couple before that, but since that post and just rolling throughout the year as we approached Shiny Happy People and afterwards, that Jill has really been doubling down and vocally defending fundamentalism, defending legalism, and feeling like she has to combat and go to bat for this. And it's really interesting, and talking about like, being in a cult, would be her reaction. That is what I want to talk about in the next video, is just really looking at all of those posts that she has made talking about that stuff. We will get into that, so that's going to be next week. So make sure you're subscribed. See you then for that chat. The shocking thing of all to me this year. I have a hard time believing who is Timothy going to marry. As I ramble, like I feel so bad for their sons, There's just there's something awkward and stunted about them and their personalities, and it's just sad that Jill has kind of done that to her kids. It really is. And I really feel like God humbled me because Timothy Rodrigues, eldest son, that's rude. There's nothing wrong with having a butt chin. I know plenty of people have a butt chin. Timothy is in a courtship. When I tell you this news was announced, I was shocked. Like when she put up a poll saying what her newest announcement, what do you think it's going to be? It was not Timothy Rodrigues in a courtship for Abigail that I picked. I voted for Renee. I couldn't believe it. I just knew it was Renee. Like, Timothy, ain't no way. What girl's doing that? And lo and behold, when Jill prays for God to deliver her from her enemies and like from the devil and stuff like that so that her children can do X, Y, and Z. In particular, she was talking about me with Timothy because I just knew, I was convinced he was not going to find a mate anytime soon. But I don't think it's any coincidence that the girl that he's dating is, or in a courtship with, excuse me, let me not say dating, but is in a courtship with, is 19, extremely young and impressionable. Her name is Heidi. She is, again, 19, and so she is the child of one of the ladies in Jill's Plexus downline, and she is the aunt of Kaylee's husband, and she and her husband made Kaylee and Jonathan. And then apparently her and Jill got to talking, and we're like, who might be like a good setup for a courtship or something like that, And it was her daughter and Timothy, apparently. I think I don't know, it feels like kind of unbelievable to me that they would approach Jill to set up the courtship. Because I just kind of feel like, I don't want to be rude, like it's just really shocking to me for anybody to like naturally be interested in Timothy as like, I mean, again, I don't want to be rude, right? He's not ugly, right? He is an attractive, physically attractive person. Like, he's not ugly. I wow, they had this video of him arm wrestling. I was like, okay, the arms, I can kind of see it. All right, white t-shirt. It's giving James Dean a bit. Okay, you got that James Dean daydream look in your eye. Like, I saw it for a second there. And I got that. Okay, that's really my favorite Taylor Swift song, guys. Like, I love that song. That's my jam. Anyway, like, he's not ugly. You know, being raised by this in this incredibly conservative, fundamentalist Christian lifestyle, you know, and so in that perspective, an ideal for somebody's daughter who's being raised in a very, very, very similar environment. And then especially, like, you know, you like Jill, you like their family, I can see you wanting to set that up. So lo and behold, we have Timothy and Heidi courtship. Started talking, getting to know each other in early October. And then by February, by Valentine's Day, we're in a courtship. Insane. Okay. Like, respectfully, that's 5 months. 5 months of getting to know somebody and decide that you want to get married is really quite intense. I mean, and especially like she's 19. And I understand, like, as a fundamentalist stay-at-home daughter, what else is she doing? And from that perspective is what I would say, like, why to me, I'm not going to harp on it's not really about getting married young in the sense of like, oh, getting married young is such a bad idea. It's just, I have to make the comment because it's Timmy and because like at such a young, impressionable age where you really don't have any sense, I wouldn't say any, but you're really still forming your sense of self. It's kind of scary to see this kind of thing going on. And you can see in her face and her mannerisms that she is one of those people who thinks that they are more experienced in life than they are. Like, in many ways, 19, you're very much still a child. Like 19 is just a number of years that you are at, but you're not really grown. You know what I mean? You're not really grown. And now I know there's like Josie who got married at 19 and Alyssa who got married at 19. And we could say like there's that maturity level that allows you to go ahead and do those things. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong for getting married at 19, but I think what's disturbing to me about it is that she's marrying Timothy. So that's why to me it's concerning because of, you know, y'all like.
Be careful with that standard. If you want to draw that standard for your home, okay, there's nothing that biblically states or explicitly says pants are a sin. But at the same time, it says woman adorning yourself in modest apparel. So if your pants become too form-fitting, too showing off your figure, that causes a man to lust. And you need to search your heart at that point and see if you wearing pants is going to be a stumbling block to others, and make sure that you are not deciding to wear pants for the wrong reason. That is why the Bible, there's nothing wrong with erring on the side of caution. That is why I personally want to have the standard for my wife to wear a dress, wear a skirt. But, I mean, how weird would it look if I started walking around in a skirt? It would look pretty weird. It would be a stumbling block to many people, and people would think this is weird. If ever they came out with a woman's brand or a men's brand of skirt or something like that, you would never see me walking around it. To me, that's crossing the line of the whole gender thing. And the Bible says, come out from among them and be separate. When most of the world is walking around in pants, if you are a Christian lady walking around in form-fitting pants like everyone else, what is separated about that? Absolutely nothing. So that is why I like to err on the side of caution in that. And I want to have the standard for wearing dresses and skirts. The Bible teaches, number 7, does it have the strong potential to offend? By you wearing something that is immodest, knowing that you may run into a Christian or someone that is a Christian, does it have the strong potential to offend someone? You know, if I run into someone from church and they're wearing something that is completely, you know, showing way too much skin and all that stuff, that may offend me. I may be like, and it may be a stumbling block. Like, what? I never thought this person was capable of dressing like this. Remember, everyone is human. Everyone is imperfect. We are all capable of the worst. There is what the Bible says, which is black and white. And then there are things that, opinions and standards that you, as the leader of your home, talking about guys in general, the guys as leaders of their home in general, need to have set in stone. But then there's also things that, as the leaders of the home, you need to set certain standards that your home is going to abide by. And you need to have scriptural references and scriptural evidence or passages on why you've drawn this standard, but typically a standard is something that is not specifically stated or said in the Bible. It is something that you as a family pray about, you with your wife, and set a standard in your home, whether it be music, whether it be modesty, whether it be many of the other things that maybe the Bible doesn't explicitly talk about. And number 8, oh, I didn't read the scripture portion for number 7. Does it have the strong potential to offend? Mark 9:42 says, "And whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were cast into the sea." Offending someone, and especially little ones, is a serious offense to the Lord Jesus Christ.
This is who she's marrying at 19 as her headship, as who she is going to have to fall in line under patriarchy for forever. And it's also interesting to me that Heidi is kind of plain looking in terms of she doesn't wear any makeup. Her mother doesn't either. And the Rodrigues girls like to beat their faces. I think that's so interesting that she's kind of a plain Jane in that sense. And she has like a sleepy look to her. It's interesting. Now, talking more about her and Timothy's courtship, so she had made a video, which I think is really interesting because it's I hope you keep continuing when you get married and you get to have this creative outlet and you get to, I hope that that's something that you want to do as extra. I think it's such a fallacy. It's a dream and a myth that the traditional patriarchal structure sells you, that it's going to feel like enough to just be a wife and mother, that the excitement and fulfillment in your life is going to come from that, when every single, I feel like, woman in these lifestyles has something else that they do besides be a wife and mother. And so I hope that that's something she'll continue as an extra thing to be able to do, because yes, Jill has 14 kids, but she plays music. She trains her children to be in a band. That's a passion, a hobby for her, that she loves music the way that she does. She travels quite a lot, right? With the kids, without the kids. She does a radio hosting sometimes, or she used to. She does Plexus as a business, yes, but also that is something else to do, going to the conventions and things like that, doing the YouTube videos, posting on Instagram. She does other things besides just be a wife and mother, even if she wants to paint those things as well. Yes, but they still fall around my domestic lifestyle. But that is true of almost every trad wife, fundamentalist, conservative woman, that majority of them do something else besides just be a wife and mother. They also, during the courtship, getting to know you phase, we're constantly sending each other pictures of them with coffee. I guess coffee is their thing. That's the thing that they love together, is coffee. How much do you guys want to bet? I am willing to bet right now that they are going to have some kind of coffee themed baby announcement when they get pregnant. Or they're going to have a coffee themed baby shower, and people are going to make the joke oh, you need lots of coffee because you're not going to be sleeping anymore with the new baby. I am just willing to bet good money that happens, and I'm going to be waiting in the next year to see. But anyway, I also think it's just so interesting that what is the obsession with fundamentalists and coffee? Do you think it's because they can't drink or do drugs, so that is the only stimulant that they have? We know also that all of these people tend to stay up really, really late because having a big family, it's hard to get a lot of things done during the day. So how much, I feel that's a part of it, but also that you can't do any of the drugs, so you're doing another kind of stimulant. The Mormons were probably on to something. We clocked your tea, actually. It's really so shocking. This is really so shocking to me. The engagement is pretty much imminent. Any day now, we are expecting for there to be some kind of announcement of Heidi and Timothy's engagement. I felt their courtship photos were really good. This green, this forest, olive green on them. This is their color, actually. I hope they do something like this for their wedding, because it looks so good on them. But I guess maybe it won't look good on everybody else, but it looks good on them. More of this, okay? Timothy bought a house. First of all, where are all of these people getting this money from? Quiet ass, quaint ass, Ohio, Amish country ass place. I'm sure there was a house that was affordable to buy, okay? I'm about to look in the real estate market over there. What do y'all have going on? I would be too scared maybe though of the Ohio school district to want to put my kids in there and tell my kids that the slaves got free by praying. That's for another video. Moving on. In February of 2023, the family went down to visit Nuri and Nathan, and Jill found out that she was pregnant on this trip. And now, beyond these disgusting photos of her, of these children holding her pee stick, unfortunately, Jill did lose the baby. It was a miscarriage, which is sad and really tragic. And RIP, it was a difficult thing to go through. And I think she was in a lot of physical pain, I guess, from like having the miscarriage. I think they had to visit the hospital for a couple of days as well, which also I'm sure couldn't have been cheap. And now, so we got all these posts from the kids and stuff talking about it. And in this video, they talk about how she was really excited to be pregnant with Kaylee, and then that they were hoping that Nuri could get pregnant like in the spring so that all of them could be pregnant together for a little while, which, you say what you want to say about that. What I'm going to say about that is also that Jill added the comment that her and Nuri used to pray all the time that they would get pregnant together. And I get it. I get it because your mom had you really young, and then you started having children young too. So the possibility of that happening is there because plenty of women do have children in their 40s, right? But to me, the difference is I do think it's a disturbing thing to pray for, in my opinion. But also part of the reason why is that Jill has had 13 children at this point, but not only that, in the midst of that has had several miscarriages that were really difficult miscarriages per her anecdotal stories, including I feel like a couple, two at least, that almost killed her. And it's the amount of strain that you have put on your body from those pregnancies to be praying that God give you a baby with Nuri. I understand, right? We see somebody like Kendra and Duggar and her mother were pregnant together twice. The difference between Kendra's mother and Jill is that at the time that Kendra's mom got pregnant, while Kendra was pregnant, she only had 6 kids, right? We don't know which, in terms of miscarriages, what she experienced, but she only had 6 kids. Jill has had 13 children already, not to mention 5 miscarriages. That's a lot. Been pregnant 18 times. When Michelle was pregnant with Anna, Josie was her 19th pregnancy, or actually really accurately, it would be her 17th pregnancy, not including her 2 miscarriages. And her had preeclampsia twice, had I think at least 2 C-sections before then. She had at least 2 C-sections, and ended up going into extremely early labor, developing preeclampsia, and having to give birth to Josie at 24 weeks and having a micro preemie, right? Because it was too much for her body at that point, from how many times she had already been pregnant. It's a lot on your body. I do understand it because that would probably be kind of a cool experience. And all of the siblings were really exciting because I'm sure that would be such an exciting thing. All of your older siblings are getting married and moving out of the house, and it would be cool to have a new baby or sibling around and things like that. It would be fun. It would be an exciting new time in your family. Totally get that. But I just feel the lack of self-awareness of Jill, you are in a season of your life where you are a grandmother. I know you're going by Mimi, and which makes perfect sense. You're only 44 something, 45. In that in of itself, I didn't even think about that. Jill's 45, and just what a high risk pregnancy that would have been, especially because of all the miscarriages, right? And like I said, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be unsympathetic. And that's all I'm going to say about that. On March 31st, it was announced that Renee is in a courtship, which I was kind of surprised by. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, I was really rooting for you, Renee. I was really rooting for you, girl, that you were going to be the one to kind of get out, though. I should have known that. Her posts have been kind of some of the worst that have come out recently in the recent years. I don't know if she saw the Reddit AMA and was like, oh, I got to double down on the fundamentalism nonsense, and did. Okay. next video talking about Renee's post. Yeah, so Renee is in a courtship with a mystery man. First of all, I think it's so funny. So basically, he asked Jill not to post any photos of him, like his face, I guess, before the courtship or engagement is announced. I forget which one. You could read it in the comment. It's all the same, basically, anyway. And I just think it's so interesting that she bothered to post him at all. Why did we need to know this? Why did we need to know this? Why was this a photo that needed to be shared publicly? Like, I think it's great and interesting that you guys went on a triple date, but why not just save this photo for later to post when you can post the guy? Why have to inform us that Renee is in this courtship? Were you getting, DMs for her hand in marriage, and that's why you felt like, I gotta let the streets know she's off the market? I mean, I can understand that, I guess, but for any other reason, I feel like if this guy has asked you not to release his image, why not just leave it alone? And when they do get engaged, just say like, surprise, like blah, blah, blah has been happening. Like plenty of the Duggars have done it. I just don't understand why the internet, needed to have this information shared with us. Because even if it's like, oh, I wanted to share the people who I know IRL, like this exciting news. Well, you didn't show his face, first of all. And that you could have just told the people you know in real life that this is the case, right? I mean, I'm sure this guy is coming around and probably gone to church with you guys, or he goes to church with you guys. So why are you sharing this with the internet? Again, this reading about boundaries, this tendency to overshare, like Jill, like when I saw this, I was cracking up because I was like, this is literally why you were given that book about boundaries, okay? Because why are you sharing this then? Why bother? Why not just wait until later? It's almost like she has to rub it in our faces that she is successfully getting all of her oldest children married off. Like, the system is working. It's okay that's why she's going to keep doubling down on fundamentalism, because her kids are choosing right. Also, again, this tendency of just like oversharing for no reason, this disgusting photo, I'm not even going to show it. Like, I'm going to blur it out a little bit, but like she showed this disgusting photo of Renee's knee because Renee is on crutches right now. And rather than just saying like, oh yeah, Renee had a really, really bad volleyball accident and cut her knee, she told us that Renee had a really, really bad volleyball accident and cut her knee, and then showed us a picture of the fucking cut knee. Why? Why did you need to share this with us? Why did we need to see this? Again, oversharing, lack of boundaries. It's like when she posted her mother's photos of like her hands and feet, and says like, oh, mom hates it when I fuss over her like this, but blah, blah, blah. I just, like, why did you need to share on the internet pictures of your mother's feet? I want you to think about that. What compelled you to make you feel like that was something that you needed to do? It was important for the internet to know. People had to see that. You could have just told us that. You could have shared a nice picture of her and said, I painted my mom's nails and feet today. But instead you had to share a picture of that. And again, there's just this certain level of lack of self-awareness that Jill has. I think one of the best ways that you could probably see exactly what I'm talking about is one of my favorite Fundy Snarkers, best of like Jill Rodrigues compilations. Oh my God. Okay. I will leave a link if you're not able to find it from this photo. But like just some of the things that she does, and it's like, the lack of self-awareness, your inability to read a room is actually a bit insane, bro. I'm a little bit concerned. Like, I really am convinced that she was never ever, like, this has been a problem for her for a long time. And she has just been taught and now interpreted that like, oh, it's okay to be weird and out there like this, because that's what Christians are supposed to be like. They're supposed to be salty, not sweet. So it's okay, like, if you think you're rubbing people the wrong way because you're doing X, Y, and Z. That's the kind of like, that's how Christians are supposed to be. And it's just like, no, actually, babe, you're doing too much. I've had enough, actually. I've had enough. To close, in more recent news, Jill had this homophobic ass post that she made, and I just want to talk about it and rant about it for a couple minutes. It's probably gonna be like a 15-minute talk. Like, this post is just so almost funny to me, because I think as a parent, you're not a fit parent if you don't have the critical thinking skills to realize that these people aren't saying that they are quite literally coming for your children to turn them gay, because a gay person knows that you can't just turn somebody gay. You either are gay or you're not. But the idea that they're targeting, purposefully trying to turn your kids gay is so fucking funny. And that if you're not infuriated by this kind of rhetoric, you don't deserve to be a parent. One, some people aren't bothered by their children being gay. I mean, that's totally a thing. Like they genuinely don't care. They love their kid anyway. They're okay with their child being gay. But also that it's more so when they say that we're coming for your children, in the sense that we are going to make sure that your children are the loving, inclusive people that you are unable to be. So yes, we are coming for your children to teach them kindness and empathy and love of others, because that is something that you are unable to do. The kind of language, the kind of violence that these kinds of posts are meant to incite, they target and prey on particular people because they know how you'll feel about it, and that you don't have the critical thinking skills to realize that that's what they mean. That you are so deceived by something that you have perceived as this nasty, disgusting, vile thing, that it isn't even, you don't even have the self-awareness to realize that it is saying that we want people to be more loving. That's what we want. And that's why we're coming for your children, right? Because clearly you are not capable of doing that, right? And even just like this post where it's like with the TikTok with the gay agenda.
But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct.
Like, hilarious. Like this kind of conspiracy theory ass shit. To not be able to, and I get it, right? I totally get it. I get it. But it's like so funny to me to not be able to read and hear the sarcasm in this. That the fact that you're the kind of person to say this kind of BS, I'm just going to go ahead and repeat it back to you because it's funny. I'm just going to fall in. I'm just going to say, yes, you know what? I agree with you. That's what we're trying to do. I'm dropping the facade because it's a joke. That's a joke because it's funny that people like you are so stupid as to believe that that is a thing. It is a joke. And I think, and again, when I say stupid, right? And I hate to use that language, but because why I say stupid is because gay people have existed forever. So how is it an agenda? How is it an agenda? It's just so frustrating, this kind of hate that people like Jill have in their heart, and then they call themselves Christian. There is this desire as Christians, especially as white Christians, to feel as though you are special, you are separate, etc. When it's so easy to see that across the world, gay people are discriminated against. I don't understand. Like it's so laughable to think that you are somehow special in your disdain and fear of homosexuality. That's weird. You are not a special person. Your beliefs aren't special. It is so easy to find people who are homophobic. Oh my goodness. Right? I think it's so much harder to be a nice and understanding, inclusive person to people who aren't straight. Like that's so much harder to like find and to pursue. And I think why I'm so bothered is just, again, this idea that it's so much easier to hate somebody than to love somebody. And so the whole Christian narrative of, oh, we love the sinner but hate the sin. Well, if I'm a gay person whose style of clothes and how I dress and do my hair is influenced by my sexuality, that flows into like how I express myself, if that part of me, if my homosexuality or, queer identity flows into how I speak, if it dictates the person that I love, how my family looks, what kind of job that I might pursue, what kind of charity work that I do, things that are major parts of me, yes, you do in fact hate me. It's just so baffling to me, like how delusional this type of Christianity is. I think it's so interesting that that loving somebody is so much harder than hating them. And when we think about like Corinthians 13, I believe it's verse 4, love is patient, love is kind. It's so interesting that Jill and Christians like her within this verse, what they focus on, what we see their love presented as exclusively almost. Love reviles evil and speaks to truth. Something like that. You can see it. And that they take that verse, that part of this verse, and say, that's what I'm doing. That's the love that I'm expressing. I have to call out your evil with the truth. And the truth is that God says that homosexuality is a bad thing. This verse also says that love is all of these other things. And from within the hatred that you spew in the name of calling it a truth that's speaking to evil, you don't reflect any of these other things that love is called to be. That this is the most important facet of this love that you're showing is so telling. It's so sad. It's so weird. And I think also what frustrates me about this, right? That the what motivates in so many ways Jill to say that, she's speaking truth to evil and that is her love, is this idea that she's like trying to save us from going to hell. She's trying to save people from going to hell. And I think it's so funny to me of just like, well, who cares? Those people will go to hell. And that's it. If I was going to go on a 2-week vacation to Italy and I invited Jill to come along, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Italy for 2 weeks. I want you to see the culture. I want you to see the food. It's so delicious. We're going to go swimming in the Mediterranean. We're going to go do a boat ride on Lake Como. We're going to get a nice pair of leather Italian made shoes, custom made. It's going to be the best time. I just want you to see how the glory of God in terms of architecture, society, blah, 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 exists in another part of this world. And if Jill was like, oh, well, for X, Y, and Z reason, like, oh, I can't afford it. I don't have anybody to watch my kids. I can't go. I'd be like, oh, that sucks. I'm still going to go on my trip to Italy. And why I use that metaphor as well is because in the video about Jill's miscarriages, Renee talks about how like, oh, I know like when we get to heaven, we'll get to meet those babies. And I think Jill says something similar too. And it's like, if you guys are already this emphatically convinced that you are going to heaven, that you are on that path to heaven, why are you acting as though us not going, us not living like you is going to prevent you from giving there? Are we all going to go to heaven with you? No. And that's fine. I really don't want to go to your version of heaven if this is what it looks like, if this is what your love looks like, right? I don't think I want to go down. I want to go there with you. Like, I've had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough. This is a long ramble. All right, that was our quick catch up. In the next video, we are going to be breaking down video by video every comment recently that Jill has had on fundamentalism and legalism, and just really doubling down on the fact that Fundy's good. Anything else bad. Thanks for the video. It was a long one, right? Bye, guys.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's like you niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas got